Laura, what you think? You used to blame a lot of things on the market today.
Where's nurture? Nature, hereditary factors, nurture. But
Yeah, they blame a lot of stuff on people's actions. Not so much common sense, but well, great. The question I used to ask people is, I'd say, what do you believe and why do you believe it? There's a guy that was a black man, a woman, saying black man, so I'm Muslim. Yeah. Why are you Muslim? Because I'm the same black man. I said, well, that's odd. I said, because the original Arabs were Muslims, Islamists. They're Arabs. They weren't the same black man. So what makes you think because you're the same black man, you have to be Muslim or Islamic? And it's ponder the thought. One guy told me it was more because of trade. You're right. You can pick and choose whatever way you are. So right now, you can't give them anything in your parents. Genesis 41.
What?
Genesis 41:41. I'm not repeating myself.
I can't hear with that air conditioner running.
you're sitting there, I was here.
I
It's,
see a lot.
that would help.
We need to say the microphone to talk to you, don't you?
Okay, we're in Genesis 41:41. Is that better?
Yes.
Yeah, one thing I've never been, well, I've been accused of being quiet. I said, well, it's not up here because we can't hear in there. So the voice is up there a lot. I got to talk over them.
Yeah, it's hard to hear with the air conditioner on. I've honestly thought about wiring Jerry up when he preaches because it,
Well, that's what we used to do.
you know.
Let's try. I think so.
That was for the people listening.
Yeah, that's so everybody in the congregation can be heard whenever we're doing Sunday school.
People still down.
Sit down, I'll get it.
Boss.
It's a bossy woman.
I don't do
Get the batteries are still
it.
low.
I'll change
Yeah,
it.
you gotta-
You may have to do something here with it too.
And though she's gone, even when she was here, I would say I blame it on my name.
Oh, she'd fire right back at you. That woman had spunk. Short, but every inch had spunk.
Had red hair and ours. Her dad was like ours.
I was there.
I never met my grandfather, her dad. My grandmother was, she reminded me of Mom Podkel. My grandmother, because she was a big burly woman. She said she went to the doctor and he bent the knee trying to pull her skin. But she was aged, being out in the sun and all that. She was a big woman, big boss. And you look at her and think, oh, she's old, shit. But you pull a hand across your face and across your backside, and then she ate meat. Yeah. Ray said that my grandfather, her husband, got drunk. She threw him over her shoulder like he was nothing, carried him in the house. But she used to make beer. She used to brew beer. Yeah, my grandmother was amazing. Yeah, there's a lot of great episodes. Like, Hunter really likes the one in the service. He talked to this guy that his wife used. She ended up with a continuous spackle instead of flour. And she made pancakes. Yeah. And in Mom Bob Kettle, she ended up with cement instead of flour. And she made loaves of bread. And they had thrown it out for the horses, and the bird creatures couldn't fly off the ground.
cook their pancakes. Using the back of the ocean. The powder was the same, I guess. It was a mistake. It was a mistake. They had this. They had hospital. They made multinational magazines. Basically, nobody's fault. It was maliciousness.
Yeah. Your Heavenly Father, we ask you to come into this house, join us with Holy Spirit dwell amongst us, that we may understand your word as it's written, as we see it. For in our eyes it's many two-dimensional words, your eyes are many things. The meanings behind many of the words written are different from what we may see. If you see as you see, and we may understand, we ask this in Jesus' name. Okay. So Pharaoh said to Joseph, but Joseph interpreted his dream that there would be 7 years of the fantastic profit, right? And then followed by 7 years of famine. So bad that none have ever been recorded as bad as these. It's supposed to be horrible. Anyway, so Joseph said that put a man in charge that they would do such things, like make sure that they take a fifth, store it up in warehouses, so when the famine hits, we have food. And a lot of days today, people say, "Well, I got a large amount of stuff in COVID," and they were giving all this extra money out, right? And a lot of the grocery stores, they said, were been hit so much, they couldn't sell so much because people got all this money they kept going fast food. I'm getting an extra $2,500 this week, COVID. So kids, we got a lot of money, we're gonna go eat fast food. Instead of keeping the normal traditional way of cooking, when you're getting stuck in hard times, stock run. You get extra paper towels, toilet paper, you go buy extra cans of corn, vegetables, tomatoes, and stuff like that. But a lot of people don't do that. But like I said, a lot of people don't do it. They say, I got a big influx, and they think it never ends. Work and time that it ends. They work for the here and the now. It's called living paycheck to paycheck. Pharaoh put Joseph in charge. He said, I hereby put you in charge of the whole land of Egypt. And Pharaoh took his signet ring from his finger, put it on Joseph's finger, dressed him in robes of fine linen, and put a gold chain around his neck. He had him ride in the chariot as his second in command. The people shouted before him, make way. Thus he put him in charge of the whole land of Egypt. So not only did he do it in the palace, but he made a spectacle from it, so that everyone would not have any doubt. You ride through the town, the Pharaoh's standing, you're standing next to Pharaoh, and he says, this is the guy in charge, right? So there is no doubt. So whenever people ask, hey, who's second in charge? A lot of people might go, well, I want to be in charge. So they say, I'm the guy in charge, right? We had that during what was Ronald Reagan when he had the assassination attempt. Alexander Haig automatically said, I'm in charge. And he wasn't in charge, right? There's the vice president, he steps down through the line. He's Speaker of the House, some Secretary of State or something like that. They have a succession of power. Alexander Haig was like 5 down on the list, but he wanted to be in charge, so he said he's in charge. So the thing with Pharaoh here and Joseph, it was a thing where they knew. Okay, without a doubt. If you had a question, look there and it was Pharaoh. Nobody questioned Pharaoh. Right? Everybody knew he was in charge. Right? When he said goes, that type of thing. And here he's telling people, Joseph says goes. Right? So that generals knew, you know, chiefs, all the chief of staff, they all knew, you know, all the press secretaries, they knew, right? Because, you know, they had press secretaries, right? They went out and told the people, this is how great your fair is, right? He went and built all these storehouses so that you can have food. Now, it's going to cost you money to get the food, but it's how great he is. He went out and built these warehouses that hold food for you. And he said, here we see the very prophecies that Joseph had as a child coming true. At the time, he probably didn't see it this way, but who knows the ways of God. But Joseph, when he originally began to go to many colors, go to farms, he was set up as very clean. He was placed in a place of charge of honor. Right? But his brothers felt that should be their position. And what happens whenever you get there? Well, they wanted to get rid of him. That was the quick fix for a lot of things. If the person above you was in charge, and you don't think they're doing the job good enough because you don't think they may be doing it right, they're doing the job the way it's supposed to be done, but it's not the way you like it done in today's society, and even then, just the idea was, we don't care for that. And regardless of who they are, we're going to get rid of them. You know, there's no negotiating, right? We'll just go get rid of them. Once they're gone, we'll look for a new person and put in power. I'll be the person to pick, right? Well, his brothers did the same thing, right? And they sold him into slavery. First, they propagated the lie that he was dead, so that their father wouldn't move on. Okay? As we read before, Reuben, the oldest, thought, you know, I'll go save him later, and I'll be the saving grace. Father will like me, right? When we went back, he was gone. So we'll get to that a little more here. It says, and Pharaoh said to Joseph, I am Pharaoh, but without your word, no one will lift a hand or a foot in all of Egypt. He gave Joseph the name Zaphaneth and Naim, which is, means, one of many meanings means God speaks and he lives, or the revealer of secrets. Okay? So even the Egyptians, when they give a name, it meant something. Right? And they said, when it says God speaks and he lives, because he interpreted dreams that nobody else could do. But he told them. When Pharaoh asked him, he said, I hear you can interpret dreams. He goes, I can't do it. Because God will tell you what you need to know. Right? So, and gave him Asenath, the daughter of Potiphera. He was a priest of On. He and his wife, Joseph, went throughout the land of Egypt. Now, this was a big honor, both for the priests and for his daughter. Okay? This guy's second in command, right? People would bend over backwards just to, you know, wash his feet. Because wash his feet, he gets done for you. Right? Take that. But here, this guy goes, Pharaoh goes, your daughter is going to be his wife. That guy was probably, whoo, you know, I'm in. You know, my daughter's married to the second in command. I'm in there. Said Joseph was 30 years old when he entered the service of the Pharaoh king. Pharaoh king of Egypt. Joseph went out from Pharaoh's presence and traveled throughout Egypt. So during the 7 years of abundance, the land produced plenty. Joseph collected all the food produced in those 7 years of abundance in Egypt and stored in the cities. In each city, he put food grown in the fields sprouting it. So he went through and saw how much was being collected, right? He made a visual so that I could know what's going to happen, right? People would say, well, they got 10 sheep of meat. They don't got anything. Right? They want to keep some for themselves. But if he's coming through, it's kind of hard to, people hide him. You don't know when he's coming through, because he's going to get you. So Joseph collected all the food, and he stored in huge quantities of grain like the sand of the sea. It was so much that he stopped keeping records because of it. That's a lot of food. And today we do measures, we do weight. Right? They used to go like this silo will hold 50 grains of corn, right? Now they do weight. People say we got to pick the tons. And you may be short 6 bags, what you normally think it is, but yourself by the weight, you ain't got to count. Just weigh this out. Yeah. And there's a lot of other things that go into effect. I mean, the grain is stored in a silo. It has air pockets. Right? Everything that's packed in, it's not sifted and vibrated. It creates an air pocket. You're pouring it in. But, so, like I said, if there was so much, he just quit counting. That's a lot of grain. And it just says grain, but I wonder if it was other stuff too. Stuff that like meats, stuff like that. They pack in sand or salt to preserve it, because 7 years is not, you don't just eat bread. But it doesn't specify, but it does specify grain. It said, before the years of famine came, there were 2 sons born to Joseph of Asenath, daughter of Potiphera, priest of On. Joseph named his firstborn Manasseh. I think it's Manasseh. And it said, it's because God has made me forget all of my troubles, all my father's household. So he was pleased with his firstborn son. So much so that everything was in the past. It probably troubled him quite a bit. Not knowing how his family was doing. Why his brothers sold him into slavery. I mean, Floyd would have probably been there this time. But as soon as he got a son, he didn't remember it. I mean, I've heard a lot of women say that pain of childbirth is so unbearable. All about it as soon as the baby's in the arms. My niece said she had a cesarean. Said the painkillers wore off when they were in the final slice. She said she felt that, but she doesn't mention any of that because her mother was elders. She knows. And they put her in the pool, and they have a float and a shield on her. Son, and they put her in the pool, and she ran. She fussed until they put her in that thing, and they held her a little bit. After that, she just lay it back.
I had those C-sections, and the nurse told me the problems. And she said, well, you have one thing, she gets here.
They said that they shipped drugs and stuff, and she said she was the nicest person. And she was saying, I'm sorry. So, before the years of famine came, the second son he named Ichabod. And said, it is because God has made me fruitful in the land of my suffering. Now, God blessed Joseph in many ways. His sons are known throughout the rest of history, the things that they did. And it's just amazing. That you may not see the greatness like David wanted to build the temple for God. Right? God told him, it'll get done, but not by you. That's not your job. Everybody has a job. Sometimes you want to do everything. Me, that's me. I get tired of working on it. It gets time. 7 years of abundance in Egypt came to an end, and 7 years of famine began, just as Joseph had said. There was famine in all the land, in other lands, but the whole land of Egypt, there was food. When all of Egypt began to feel the famine, the people cried to Pharaoh for food, and Pharaoh told the Egyptians, go to Joseph, do what he tells you. So, he tried to circumvent James Van right there, right? They went to the king and said, hey, come on. Now, later is like generals and stuff like that. They probably presented Joseph. I mean, that's a big thing. Here's a guy out of prison, and he's a puppet. You know, I don't know about anybody. Yeah, I don't know about anybody else, but here the Pharaohs are delighted, you know, and I'm sure that they, you know, much like what was it, Daniel. Daniel was placed in charge. That was presented there. If they wanted to be back in the seat, and they could talk to the Pharaoh directly, it didn't happen the way that they wanted.
Very likely to do so. Look, he said, what they described in here is
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not speaking that he could like tell the generals to go to war. That's more like if they needed something for their troops food wise, they had to do that. Yeah. They would have to go to this guy, he's new to the throne in Egypt. He's not even Egyptian. And we'll find out later how bad that really is. But so anyways, like I said, Pharaoh told him, whatever you need, talk to him. Right? So when Jacob learned that there was grain in Egypt, he said to his sons, why do you keep looking at each other? Yeah. Why are you looking around for food? It's in Egypt. Go get it. He continued, but I have heard that there is grain in Egypt. Go down there and buy some for us, so that we may live and not die. That sounds a little bit sarcastic in a way. You know, he's telling his kids, yeah, he's telling his sons, what are you doing? There's the grain. Go get some. What do you want me to die? Go get it. So then 10 of Joseph's brothers went down to buy grain in Egypt. Jacob, not in Benjamin, Joseph's brother, the others, because he was afraid that harm might come to him. Now this is the thorn thing, right? He had already lost Joseph's income when he met with his brothers. He goes, and he probably said, look, you go to Egypt, get the grain, but I'm going to keep Benjamin here. God forbid, last time something happened, you know, the youngest kid went with him. You know. So, so Israel's sons were among those who went to buy grain, for there was famine in the land of Canaan also. It said stretched outside Egypt. Now, Joseph was the governor of the land. Joseph sold grain to all his people. So when Joseph's brothers died, they bowed down to him with their faces to the ground. As soon as Joseph saw his brothers, he recognized them, pretended to be a stranger, and spoke harshly to them. Where do you come from? He asked. From the land of Canaan. Why food? So Joseph recognized his brothers, they didn't recognize him. And imagine, they probably remembered them being the way they sold. Yeah. And recollection is pretty much on how you remember people what they were.
Was it the place of the Egyptians?
Yeah.
Historically, the Egyptians were the control region themselves. They were Semitic. They were Jews. So the armies, especially built the body of pretty much the city, like whites, generally speaking, blacks have different. So it looked like the other sort of Egyptians.
Yeah. It doesn't say it a whole lot long after his 30th birthday, family ended, but 7 years. So he could be like 37 years old. Yeah, and it said they were on the piece of they were doing. So, but Joseph's having fun with his brothers. Right?
I think maybe
And
they
it's
have a little revenge.
yeah.
You know, and I think I comment earlier, some of the major commentators, nothing negative about Joseph. You know, from start to finish, he's just because he's seen him as a Christ. But he's human.
Yeah.
And I don't doubt maybe a little bit of
Well, he remembered a lot of the stuff because his first son, he said, I'm going to do this as God is how we forget. And then it says, But he says, he looks at me, he says, you are spies. You have come to see where our land is unprotected. And he said, no, no, my lord. And he answered, your servants have come to fight through. We are all the sons of one man. And your servants are honest men, not spies. Okay, that's your problem. They said, that's what spies. I'm not a spy. He said, and he looks at him and he says, no. He said, you have come to see where our land is unprotected. So he's being forceful. He said, but they replied, your servants are 12 brothers, sons of one man, who lived in the land of Canaan. The youngest is now with our father, and no one is, and one is no more. So they're spilling their guts. They're telling everything. There was but if they don't, 5 minutes will get to realize that. Anyways, and a lot of them, there's some that say, I don't have to force the information out of you. Some people will tell you everything you want to know. Yep. You get them talking, they don't stop. You sit there. One of the movies I watched, guy says, when people start to talk, I don't stop. Because it helps me figure out how cool the crowd is. Yeah, Jackie Chan, Rush Hour. You know the fucking. So Joseph said to them, it is just as I told you, you are spies, and this is how you will be tested. As surely as the Pharaoh lives, you will not leave this place unless your younger brother comes here. So he wants to see his younger brother. But he doesn't want them to know that he great recognized them. Send one of your number to get your brother. The rest of you will be kept in prison, so that your words may be tested to see if you are telling the truth. If you are not, as surely as Pharaoh lives, you are spies. He put them all in custody for 3 days. Now, must only take 3 days or a day and a half to go about it, I guess. Maybe a day travel both ways. On the 3rd day, Joseph said to them, do this and you will live. For I fear God. You are honest men. Let one of your brothers stay here in prison, while the rest of you go and take grain back to your starving households. But you must bring your youngest brother with you, so that your words may be verified, that you may not die. This they proceeded to do. They said to one another, surely we are being punished because of our brother. We saw how distressed he was when he pleaded with us for his life, but we would not listen. That is why this distress has come on us. They said amongst themselves, it is surely that which we have done to our brother so long ago, that God is punishing us sorely now. So Reuben replied, that's what I like. Didn't I tell you not to sin against the boy? But you wouldn't listen. Now we must give an accounting for his blood. They did not realize that Joseph could understand them, since he was using an interpreter. He probably had an interpreter brought in, even though he could understand every word they said. And I wrote it here, Reuben said, it wasn't me. I want to save him. No, you sold them off like livestock, we tended. Now we must make amends for that which you have done. So that Joseph could understand what they said, since they didn't recognize him, they played it for all he could. It seems to me they took some solace in himself. Ashton Kutcher, he started a show called Punk. Frank. And I mean, the guy was very good. He's a very smart man for what he does and what he does. One of the episodes, one of the characters, he brought in bands of people, and they started going into this guy's house, and they said, well, we're the IRS. And that Kutcher didn't show up. He had other people show up. He said, we're from the IRS, and you have to back taxes. So we're going to start taking stuff out of your house and sell it, pay your taxes. I mean, this kid was so worked up, he was crying about his mother. It was all on TV, and he was really mad afterwards. They pumped too hard, because he started getting really emotional. set up, not the real, in the public. And that's what I thought of when I saw Joseph. He was pranking the brothers. He was having fun with them. They didn't know it. And part of the thing about getting something over on somebody is, because if you know it, you can't get joked on, part of the joke. And, I mean, yeah. Some people will go, yeah, you're so gone, right? And I've got people playing pranks on them, right? And I don't mind doing that, as long as the person that's pranking me or I get pranked with them, he knows I've taken. We've got people at work that one step on. I know who they are. I don't figure out who you are. I can prank and play. So I don't play well enough. Because I don't like them one up because it never ends. If I throw a bucket of water on you, they bring the garbage can of water. And the next step's a dump truck full of water. And the next thing you know, they bring a helicopter across the water on you. And it never ends. It's always one up until it maybe two. Till you get to the point where, yeah. So, but Joseph had the upper hand there. He was the only one who would do it. Says, so he turned away from them and began to weep. See, I mean, here he's pranking his brothers, and they're all upset. So part of him, he's still human. Jerry pointed out, desert tendencies. He turns away to wipe the tears from his eyes. He said, the brothers are long gone. I've heard people working at the time and I'm saying, hate their brothers and sisters. I said, I can't relate to this. I said, I don't care what my brother or sister says. My brothers and sisters. And we, some of us are a little sarcastic. Some of us, yeah, just a touch. But it's still fun. I mean, but he turned away from them and began to weep, and then he came back and spoke to them again. So he had to regroup. He had to keep this facade going. So Joseph had to regroup so that he could play the part without cracking up and breaking up. Today you have actors that they say try to do one take, right? He said, but some people are caught in the moment, in the act and playing the part, that they start to cry or they start to laugh, and they have to cut. So the person can regroup, collect themselves, go back to playing the party. And sometimes you get really caught up. And here Joseph is doing the same thing. He said he came back and spoke to them again. He had Simeon taken away from them, taken from them, and bound before their eyes. So he means business. He has him take his brother and bind him and send him away. Joseph then gave orders to fill their bags with grain and to put each man's silver back in his sack and to give them provisions for their journey. After this was done for them, they loaded their grain on their donkeys and they left. Okay. That's it. He's playing out the part. The brothers don't know it's him, right? So he's still, like he says, he's still pranking. So at the place where they stopped for the night, one of them opens his sack to get feed to his donkey. And he saw his silver in the mouth of his sack. My silver has been returned, he said to the brothers. Here is my sack. Well, their hearts sank as they turned to each other trembling and said, what is this that God has done to us? And they're still thinking that God's, God had mentioned before in the past that generations upon generations pay for the sin of certain things, right? But how vindictive do they really think God loves them? Right? I'm sure that once you pay the price for what you did, he's not like going to keep, digging in. Because then it becomes more vindictive thing. You see you're really paid than it is. So when they came to their father Jacob, the land of Canaan, they told him all that had happened. They said, the man who was lord over the land spoke harshly to us and treated us as though we were not even land. We said to him, we are honest men, we are not spies. We are 12 brothers, sons of a father, and one is no more, and the youngest is now with our father in Canaan. Then the man who was the Lord over the land said to us, This is how I will know whether you are honest men. Leave one of your brothers here with me, and take food for your starving household and go. But bring your youngest brother to me, so I will know that you are not spies, but honest men. Then I will give your brother back to you, you can trade in the land. And as they were emptying their sacks, there in each man's sack was his pouch of silver. When they and their father saw the money pouches, they were frightened. Their father Jacob said to them, You have deprived me of my children. Joseph's of no more, and Simeon is no more. So you took one of my oldest sons, and you already got rid of one of my youngest sons. Well, how much more are you going to take from him? So he was angry with his sons.
And Simeon, Simeon, Reuben, the eldest, and the one that Reuben had the same to say, he would say, Reuben being first. So Simeon.
And now you want to take Benjamin? Everything is against him. So he's pretty much, you know, chastising his sons by saying how bad it is for him. You know? And that's kind of like making his sons feel anyway.
Because in the way you're presenting this, I'm wondering if Jacob was suspicious. Now you remember Jacob's younger, he was a conniver, he was cheating, brother on the birthright of life, his father, deceived his father. And I'm wondering if maybe after he had time to think about what they said about Joseph through the years, he's wondering, you know, maybe they did this. Maybe
Yeah.
back his mind.
Well, it's evident in the way he says it. I mean, you're taking everything. He said,
Maybe they're going to do that.
yeah, he said, my youngest son was with you, he got killed. And you went to Egypt to get grain, and now my, Simeon's gone. And now you want to take my youngest son? Yeah, how much more do you want to take from him? He's digging into his oldest, his boys, as he can. So Jacob puts, I wrote this myself. So Jacob puts more love and seems upon Benjamin. When he says this to his older sons, he rubs it into them. It's the last time their younger brother was with them. They got him killed. Now they want to take his youngest son from him and leave him nothing. The words of Jacob strike to the heart of his son how hurt him was when they let this thing happen, that he still blames them for it. I'm sure he probably still does. I mean, that's something you can't do. So then Reuben said to his father, You may put both of my sons to death, but do not bring him back to you. Trust him in my care, and I will bring him back. So he's telling me, he says, Look, if Benjamin, anything happens to Benjamin, do what you want with my sons. You know? And I don't know, Jacob knows how well, Reuben loves his sons.
Jacob does as well. I think Reuben knew he understand.
Yes. So Jacob said, My son will not go down. His brother is dead. He's the only one I have left. If harm comes to him on the journey you are taking, you will bring my gray head down to the grave in sorrow. I can't help but hear a bit of Jewish accent. Because,
He sees.
So now the famine was severe in the land. But as Joseph, God gave him prediction, said it was 7 years of famine, and it'll be really bad. Right? And good times, people see them, but they don't see how really great they are. It ain't like, I mean, if you get a tree full of fruit, right? And then you get another tree full of fruit, you don't see it as being an abundance. But you get no tree full of fruit, then you really see the effects of the negative. It's hard to see the effects of the positive when you see it most of the negative. So, okay. So when they had eaten all the grain that they had brought from Egypt, their father said to them, Go back and buy us some more food. Judah said, The man warned us solemnly, "You will not see my face again unless your brother is with you. If you will send our brother along with us, we will go down and buy food for you. But if you will not send him, we are not to go down, because the man said to us, you will not see my face again unless your brother is with you." And those repeat himself. He's trying to emphasize his father. That's what he said. That's what he told us. We was there. He said, I was right there. Dad, he said, I was right there. And the man said, look, brother will come with you. Don't even bother coming back. You know?
It's an example too, because it's not just you stuff. It's my book.
Yeah.
My book. My book. It's different because you should study. You should love that. 50 seconds.
Yeah.
Now you use it.
So Israel asked, why did you bring this stuff to me by telling me you had another brother? Yeah. You didn't have to mention that. All you had to do was say, our father was waiting back there for us. That's it. That's all you had to say. But you, no, big mouth, you had to offer up my son. They replied, the man had questioned us closely about ourselves and our family. Is your father still living? He asked us. Do you have another brother? We simply answered his questions. How were we to know he would say, bring your brother down here? He didn't ask if he had a younger brother. They mentioned that, so they were trying to save face. All right. Joseph never once asked him. He just asked him, how's your father doing? That's all he asked. Right? Because he didn't know about that. Then Judah said to Israel, his father, send the boy along with me, and we will go at once, so that we and you, our children, may live and not die. For I myself guarantee his safety. You can hold me personally responsible for him. If I do not bring him back to you and set him here before you, I will bear the blame before you all my life. As it is, if we had not delayed, we could have gone and returned twice. That's a little rubbing back in on his dad. All this time you've been laying, man, we could have been there and back twice already. Food. But no. We're going to starve to death because you're stubborn. And their father Israel said to them, if it must be, then do this. Put some of the best products of the land in your bags. Take them down to the man as a gift. He says, balm, honey, spicy myrrh, some pistachios, right? And almonds. And take a couple jars of peanut butter. Yeah. Take them some olives. Oh man, I really love these peanut butter ketchup sandwiches. Take them some of those. Or if it was Elvis, hey, give him some fried peanut butter banana sandwiches. Elvis used to fly to Arizona just to get those. There's a restaurant there that made him, and he loved them, and he'd fly. Anytime or the night. So, it says, take the double amount of silver with you. You must return the silver that was put back in the mouth of your sacks. Perhaps it was a mistake. Take your brother also and go back to the man at once. May God Almighty grant you mercy for the man, so that he will let your older brother and Benjamin come back to you. As for me, I'm bereaved and I'm bereaved. Woe is me, woe is me. I'm going to sit here and wait for the bad news. So the men took the gifts, double amount of silver, and Benjamin also. They hurried down the evening and presented themselves to Joseph. Joseph saw Benjamin with them. He said to his steward of his house, he says, take these men to my house, slaughter an animal, and prepare a meal. They are to eat with me at noon. The man did as Joseph told him. He took the men to Joseph's house. Now, the men were frightened and they were taken to the house. But we were brought here because of the silver that was put back in our sacks in the first. He wants to attack us and overpower us. He sees us asleep and take our money. Now, one of the horrible things about things in life is if you think that if the cop showed up at your house, what's the first thing a lot of people think is, we're there the best. That's one of the first things that pop in a lot of people's heads, right? If Joseph showed up, right there he goes, take to my house. What do we do? What do we do? What'd you do? They're probably talking to each other like that. What'd you do? You know? Why are we being brought to the Lord's house, this, what you saw, Secretary of State, Secretary of Commerce? Why are we being brought to his house? Anything he says will be done. Why are we doing? That was the first thing they thought. The first thing they thought was, he knows about the silver the first time. Yeah. There's no making this right. So they went to Joseph's steward and spoke to him at the entrance of the house. Now, we beg your pardon for it. They come down here the first time to buy food at the palace, right? The place where we stopped for the night, we opened up sacks, and each of us found the silver, the exact weight and amount of the sack. So we brought it back with us. We've also brought additional silver with us to buy food. We don't know who put the silver in our sacks. It's all right, so don't be afraid. Your God of your father, has given you treasure in your sacks. I received your silver. And he brought Simeon out. So, imagine this is probably got translated to Joseph. Why would he be translated? Speaking Egyptian or speaking Hebrew. So, this is probably got translated. So, he probably knew that, you see, Joseph told him money back. So he's trying to appease himself. Look, just relax. Yeah, you want trouble, right? When he brought Simeon out of prison, probably a little bit easier than Mark. They're probably asking Simeon all this question too. The steward took the men into Joseph's house, gave them water to wash their feet, and provided fodder for their fellows. They prepared their gifts for Joseph's arrival at noon, because they had heard that they were to eat there. And when Joseph came home, they presented him the gifts they had brought into the house, and they bowed down before him to the ground. They asked him how. He asked them how they were, and then said, "How is your aged father? You told me about. Is he still living?" They replied, "Your servant, your father, is still well, alive and well." They bowed down, prostrating themselves before him. Isn't it amazing that Joseph, when he was a younger son, told him of a dream he had that they would bow down before him, right? Imagine they forgot all about that dream, right? But their resentment first was, I'm the oldest son. You think I'm bowing down to you? But here they are doing it. And as he looked about and saw his brother Benjamin, his own mother's son, he asked, "Is this your youngest brother, the one you told me about?" And he said, "God be gracious to you, my son." Deeply moved at the sight of his brother, Joseph hurried out to look for a place to weep. Went into his private room and he wept there. Okay. That's a very moving thing. There are stories out today of people that haven't seen their brother or sisters or mom and dad for the longest time, and they're given up for adoption, or somebody kidnapped them. Whatever be the circumstance, or they got lost. Prodigal son. And prodigal son, when he came back, his father threw a feast. So his brother, who's always been there, he said, "What are you doing that for?" He ran away. And he said, "Well, you have been here the whole time. You had every opportunity to take place in all of this festivities. Every day. It's always here before you. But your brother, he hasn't been there." Right? When he comes back, we welcome him in with open arms. And the kingdom of heaven is not much different. A Christian that's lived their whole life as a Christian, they get to enjoy heaven as it is every day. But the sinner that doesn't know Christ, whenever he becomes a Christian, he's welcomed in with open arms and a feast. So that we had washed his face, he came out controlling himself, served food. Well, they served him by himself. He's in the house. He doesn't have to eat with anybody. I've seen this in several other movies. When they made the head of the house, they say about the 1940s, 20s, whenever they would eat, the father would eat first, you know, and then the mother and the guests, and if there's any left, the children. My mother used to talk about this when she was a kid. When people came to visit, they ate last. My mother or my grandmother used to throw like potatoes, and she'd throw them in the soup. Because it looked like today's soup. They used to call it stone soup. Put a couple stones in there, and it's like the water rises up. Well, he said they served him by himself, his brothers by themselves, the Egyptians who ate with him by themselves. Okay, because Egyptians do not eat with Hebrews, for that is detestable to eat with Egyptians. So, even though Joseph's in charge, they still have their dignity. Right? And he wouldn't make the Egyptians eat with him because in their ways, they don't like Hebrews. You know, it's kind of like eating with dogs or eating with pigs. And the prodigal son, he found himself at a point where he was eating with the pigs. You know, because they had more to eat than he did. And that's when he said, well, you know, how low can I get? Right? Egyptians would have been forced to eat with the Hebrews here in their eyes. Look at how low can I get? Now the men who had been sitting before him in the order of their ages, from the firstborn to the youngest, they looked at each other in astonishment. The portions were served to them. Joseph's table. Benjamin's portion was 5 times as much as anyone else's. So they feasted and drank freely with them. Here's the point now. They noticed that Benjamin got 5 times a day. You can't say nothing. Who are they going to tell to? You're going to tell Joseph? They don't know it's Joseph. They're going to tell the head of the house, hey, what's mine? I mean, all he can do is, well, just take my kill. Now, your portion, you give him the other. Joseph was elevated from the lowest of his brothers to the highest in the land, to rule over his land and family, from which he showed them favor when he saw them. And even after all that was done to them. So God placed him in a position of authority without Joseph even knowing when he got his coat of arms. He was training for his position of authority. Okay, first he gave him the birthright colors, right? Jerry pointed out, you know, it's like he placed a coat of arms and placed him on. Then he was placed in charge of Potiphar's house. Then he was placed in charge of the prisoners. And God blessed him over and over and elevated him to where God wanted him to be. Joseph believed in the Lord each and every time he faced an issue. When he was facing dreams that bothered others, God told him the meaning of the dreams. And when he described the meaning behind the dreams, it wasn't like he told others he could interpret it. It was God said. Genesis 41:15-16, Pharaoh said to Joseph, I had a dream and no one can interpret it. But I have heard it said that when you hear a dream, you can interpret it. And he said, I cannot do it. He said, but God will give Pharaoh the answer he desires. So here we see he placed Benjamin's portion 5 times that of his brothers. It could be that he knew that the tribe of Benjamin would be blessed by God, or it could be that he was overcome with grief that had been the first time he seen his younger brother for the first time. So it makes you wonder, why did he give his younger brother 5 times that of his older brothers? I don't know if they look at stuff. Did they? Jacob didn't see it, or Israel didn't see it, or something. Do you think they would have treated him differently if they'd asked, who's your mother?
God can just give us a solution.
Right, but I mean, I don't know if Joseph sees the medical stuff. He'd have to see his other brothers. Well, the thing is I'm getting this, I don't think he sees step brothers, I think he sees brothers. Because Reuben and Simeon are, they're like half brothers.
Right? Okay, the first four was Reuben, Simeon, Levi, and Judah. They're the same. Leah.
That makes them half brothers.
So they make that like half brothers to Joseph.
Yeah, that's right. But see, Israel doesn't see them as half sons or stepsons because they have a different mother. And Joseph probably doesn't see them as half brothers. But he doesn't mention, that's not half brothers. I mean, part when it went to work, I met a few people that say that. So, still your brother. They're like, oh yeah, what do you call that? Like the king and son.
Which half? Your brother and second sister.
Yeah, so you can have brother, half sister. I mean, I don't have any half brothers. And honestly, I wouldn't consider anybody part of the family being half anything. But I don't see Joseph seeing this. He just knows that he has a younger brother. He has not seen him. And God was making an opportunity for him to see them, on his terms. Amen. I just said, I don't know if it's because he hasn't seen him. First time seeing him, and I've heard many times of like other instances, that people say, well, that's the son I've never seen before. So they lavish him with gifts to try and make up for the time they haven't seen him. You're here, everybody's here. Just finish them up. Heavenly Father, we thank you for bringing us together, studying your word. Give an idea of what Joseph went through, brothers, dad, and his life. Be with us as we go on.